Hello, everyone, and welcome to the J-Rob Show. I'm your host, Jason Robinson. Now, today in the show, I'm super excited because we have the very talented and funny actress, Miss Tisha Campbell. We're going to speak to her today about her career, about the success of her hit 90s sitcom Martin, about her recent Martin reunion with her former cast members, and about her brand new Netflix show called Uncoupled with Neil Patrick Harris. All that and more. So stay tuned to the J-Rob Show.
For 17 years, my boyfriend told me he was leaving me.
What? After you?
Yup.
And he kept saying, oh, I'm officially out of the fan club.
Tisha Campbell, welcome to the show, Tisha.
What's happening, Jason?
I'm so happy to have you because I've been trying to book you on my show for God knows how long.
Really? We finally did it.
You're like my hardest booking.
Really?
Booked and busy.
That's terrible and good at the same time because I'm so grateful to still be working in this business after 5 decades. And shocked myself.
I understand why you've been so busy. Obviously, you've been getting into so many things into your career. You just did the Martin reunion, and now you are on your brand new show on Netflix, Uncoupled with Neil Patrick Harris. So we're going to get into all of that just a little bit later.
Okay.
But I just want to take it back just a little bit. At what point, growing up as a young girl, did you realize that you wanted to pursue acting as your career path?
I was 3 when I started singing in churches and schools and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And by 5 years old, they used to, pre-Reaganomics, they used to have these summer concerts in the projects where they would build stages. By the time I was 5, there was this contest that you could win. Second prize was a color television, and I wanted to win that color television because we didn't have one that worked. The car. I won the first prize at 5 years old. Right. Pissed, mad, didn't want the car. They're giving a 5-year-old the key, dropping them in my hand. I throw them down on the ground, reach to the edge of the stage because my brother's eating my Cheetos and I got to go kill him. And they say, hey, you just won a car and you dropped the keys on the ground. And that's when I realized, like, my mother is crying, my dad is jumping up and down, and my brother, Stanley, still eating my doggone Cheetos. So, but I realized in that moment that I could help people. And I think that was my motivation. And I still feel that way to this day with what an artist should be and what they should do. And they should understand that they're in servitude. This is a service for, for people. And it's not for one to be served. Kudos to my beautiful parents, but that's how they raised me. I was still washing dishes and taking out the garbage and washing my brother's stank clothes. Everybody still had their chores to do, even though I was on Broadway at, 12 years old. I still had chores. I still, they still kept me really grounded.
I tried to get out of doing my chores too because I had allergies when I was a young kid and I didn't want to go out and cut the grass. My mom used to save me all the time and be like, Hudson, no, he has allergies. Put the Visine. He doesn't want to rub his eyes out. So I used to try to get out. My mom used to save me.
Nice try. I wish my kids would try those tricks.
I know, right?
That used to happen with Jason, so you good.
I think your first debut on the screen was with Little Shop of Horrors. Is that correct? In 1986?
Yes. Little Shop of Horrors was my first movie. I was 16 years old. And with Tashina Arnold and Michelle Weeks.
And then you had Rags to Riches a little bit after that, right?
I did, right after I came back from London, because we filmed that in London for 8 months.
So what do you remember about that time, first breaking into the industry with, Little Shop of Horrors, obviously with Tashina?
It wasn't easy for us, I think that's one of the reasons why, Tashina and I gravitated to one another, because nothing was handed on a silver platter, and one had to be extremely talented to make it in this business, because back then it wasn't about who was the biggest star. It was about who could really do the job. And at any moment, there was so many people that could, You had to work really hard back then to be, my grandmother used to say this all the time, and I say it still to this day. You have to be especially because you're Black, you have to be extraordinary in order to be considered average.
You had the Boomerang, you had School Days, you had the House Party franchise movies. How awesome was that for you to get all of those roles? And I didn't even know you were in Boomerang.
I never told anyone what movies were coming out because I always assumed
Okay.
there could be a moment where, you know, you ended up on the editing room floor. I assumed that my little scene wasn't going to make it. So I never told anybody that I was in it until I ran into Reggie Hudlin, the director and producer of Boomerang. And he told me, you were really great in the movie. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks for keeping me in. I still didn't understand or believe until it came out.
The Martin Show was the funniest show on television back then and still today. So you played Gina on Martin. I think the only two other shows that I would put in the top three is Martin #1, probably Three's Company, and The Honeymooners. Those are my top.
Oh my God, those are really big shows. Wow.
Absolutely.
I'm very honored to be amongst those three.
No, when you're at the top. How much fun was it to work on the Martin Show?
Oh, come on. I'm with my best friend.
Yes.
And all of us have known each other in the business for a long time prior to doing this show. And so it was like a bunch of friends coming together and playing.
So much fun, so popular. Probably still calling you Gina till this day. You're probably getting sick of it. But
no, I don't get sick of it because it wasn't supposed to last past the 5 years. So the fact that it's 30 years in and people are still, you know, it's still revered. Like I'm very thankful that people call me Gina. And especially when little kids, you're like, you weren't even born.
Did you know the show was going to be as successful as it was, like the cult classic that it is today?
No, none of us did. I had lunch with Martin and Tashina, and he was like, can you believe they call us icons? And I was like, no. I started watching the show about 3 years ago because millennials were so obsessed with the show and they would quote stuff at me and I don't know what they're talking about. And so I started watching. I was like, oh my gosh, this show is really funny.
Yeah.
But when you watch Martin Lawrence and his brilliance, it's hard. You cannot deny it.
I have been on the ground and just literally laughing to the point where I'm like not breathing.
Something's wrong with him. Like,
yeah, something's wrong with him. Well,
he is funny.
My favorite character on the show was Dragonfly Jones. Anytime I'm depressed, I will just watch clips of Dragonfly Jones getting his ass kicked.
All of that was ad-lib. The first time we saw Dragonfly Jones and he appeared, he would never let us see what the characters were wearing. But also with Dragonfly Jones, we never saw him until he walked through that door. That first time into Gina's apartment when he was teaching us self-defense. And when he came in, and they had put these things up Martin's nose to make his nose look whiter.
Yeah.
I think at some point, one of them got stuck up there and he panicked and he was like, trying to, blow it out and everything. And we're like, we didn't know whether he was really like panicking or whether it was just a character. But it happened to be he was
panicking.
He was panicking because the thing got up there a little bit too far.
Which one was your favorite character?
It would have to be so hard. I love watching Otis, but I love being in the scenes with Shanae. Me and Tashina used to say Shanae constantly has cramps because she has such a funky attitude.
Yes.
We would try to do things purposefully to get under her skin. Like I would stand too close to her or, something that would irritate her to make her ad-lib. So it was always fun being in a scene with her.
All of the fans of Martin was so happy to see that you guys recently did the Martin reunion show. How great was that for you to get back together with your friends? How did it feel?
I know Martin has some behind the scenes of that, but to watch us like getting together and we're dying laughing, we're making each other laugh, and it was so much fun. People could see us bent over, like just cracking each other up behind the scenes of the reunion. Two important moments for me was the Tommy tribute. We all said we're not doing it unless Tommy has a beautiful moment.
Yes.
And then the Marla Gibbs moment, because even though we were being honored, we needed to give somebody else their flowers, especially somebody who is a trailblazer, who's the first woman, not just the first Black woman, but the first woman to ever executive produce and star in her own show. She also gave back so much, millions, to her community. She was a part of the Martin Show. She did an episode, but more so than anything, we have to give people their flowers while they're here. And she's an important person to me.
What's your fondest memories of Tommy, and what will you miss about him the most?
His laugh. Tommy's laugh was so infectious. He was such a kind person, very giving, always thought of everybody else, always thought of God. He was just a wonderful, beautiful human being. I miss him a lot.
How did you guys work on repairing the relationship?
We've done our healing, us celebrating one another and celebrating our accomplishments.
Absolutely. And we were all so happy to see you and Martin back on the screen. I know you guys had your differences in the past, but it was so great watching the reunion where we saw the love and the respect.
Always.
Any chance for a reboot? Probably not. Like, are there any chances? I know you guys talked about
Probably not. You know, we can't do anything without Tommy, and that's that. Like, none of us want to do it without Tommy at all. I don't.
Let me ask you this. I heard a really funny story. Is it true that you actually crashed an audition for My Wife and Kids?
Of course it's true.
How did that happen?
It's a long, long story, but long story short, Damon, I've been a friend of their family for forever, and I heard about the audition, and I knew everybody else had been going on the auditions, and it was like everybody else's third callback, and so I just decided to like jump in, and even though he already knew me, and he was like, no, I think I want to see somebody else in that role. Okay. I was like, I don't really take no's for an answer.
Right.
So I crashed it.
And you got the role.
I did. I don't suggest people do that. Sneak on to like the Disney lot, not a good idea.
I'm super excited about your brand new project. It's on Netflix, right? It's called Uncoupled. And tell us all about the show and about the character that you play.
I think it's one of my most proud moments in my career. Like, I really love this show. You know, to have, you know, this show be about a man who's been in a 17-year relationship with his boyfriend and he gets dumped. It means a lot to have queer men playing queer men. My character, Suzanne Prentice, is unhappily, you know, single. You have these why am I holding a rubber band? You have these amazing writers, and I just trusted what was on the page.
How was it like working with Neil Patrick Harris? I mean, I call him Doogie.
He's amazing.
Right? He is. What is the most fun part of doing Uncoupled?
I think it's just being back home in, you know, the New York, New Jersey, Brooklyn, Queens area, because we film all over. And being back home and filming where I came from, it's like full circle. So nice. It's and the city of New York, it's like its own character anyway. So I'm enjoying that.
What's coming up next for you? What are you looking forward to in the future? Any other projects coming up that your fans could be on the lookout for?
You guys are going to be so surprised. During COVID isolation, I discovered that I was a writer. And I knew that I could write, and I've always wanted to, but someone was always in my ear telling me, no, 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 no. And as strong of a woman as I believe that I am, after a while of hearing what you can't do or what you shouldn't do or what you will not do, you start to believe it. I started writing, doing everything that I ever wanted to do in life. And so I created like a bunch of shows, and you're going to hear a lot about them. Some are not what you would expect from me, because most people look at me as, you know, from comedy, but there are some thrillers, there are some suspense. It's funny because I started out writing thrillers and sci-fis and stuff like that. And comedy is actually very hard for me to write. What takes me a couple of weeks to write, if it's a drama, it takes me a month or two to write if it's a comedy. So
Gotcha.
that's what you're going to see coming down the pike, is that me being behind the scenes, and I'm really enjoying doing that.
We have followed your career throughout the years, and we're so happy for everything you are doing. Keep up the good work. Big fan of yours.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I remember you had that boyfriend.
About that. We're not together anymore.
Oh my God.
Really?
It's a little angrier in person.
What's up? It's your girl, Tisha Campbell, and you are watching The J. Rob Show.